Hi, this is Joe. I titled this Coming Back to Yourself because that's essentially what was something that I needed to do for myself. Over the last several weeks, somehow I developed a routine of checking in on what was happening out in the world. And by that I mean, I don't listen to TV news. I don't watch TV news. I don't go there to get any information because I didn't find that avenue of news dissemination to be something that I really could hang my hat on, like I might have 20 years ago. And instead, you could say I subscribe to listening to alternative news sources who are providing information on activities in the world. And little did I know, but slowly but surely, I was getting lulled into this daily routine of checking in and finding out what was happening, finding out the latest news about this event or that event that I'm sure everyone's aware of. And in addition to that, while initially I was able to look at it, see it objectively, observe what was occurring, slowly but surely, I found that I was getting caught up in it, getting to have certain feelings, etc. And these are things that anyone who's consciously wanting to take the high road when so many are taking the low road, to step out of fear, to stay out of fear, to have already stepped out of fear, and then find themselves somehow falling back down that path, recognizing it for what it was, and this time judging it for being fear. Not so much getting caught up in being afraid, but now you're in a position of being in a state of judgment. So all this work that led to being in a position of rising above it all, maintaining an objective perspective, is something that suddenly, easily found its way of insinuating itself back into my life again. And while I did go through those kinds of emotions, that kind of roller coaster, if you will, they weren't for very long. They weren't extremely deep or extremely harsh, but they were still there. And so I recognized them and I found the need to pull back. In a sense, what I'm saying is, isn't it interesting how we need to maintain this level of distance and do so daily? Because if we don't, we can easily find ourselves falling back into old habits, for example, leaving ourselves feeling negative, feeling angry, feeling upset, maybe even feeling fearful. And isn't that the objective for those among us who hold the opinion that fear, etc., all these lower emotions being something that are intended? That's the whole reason why information is being passed along in the way it is. And the irony here, the big irony, is that these kinds of messages are being sent by people who are offering alternative news. So you see, I got away from the original mainstream news because it had that element of fear, anger, upset, working you up, spinning you around, and spitting you out, only to find that the same kind of things are occurring in the alternative news media, if you will. And when I say that, I'm not referring to organized outlets. I am referring to people who have positioned themselves where they offer the latest insight or maybe even just passing along the latest news. Yeah, there's that need to pull away. And isn't it interesting that some of us listening, for example, may already have been pulled away over these last few weeks? But I'm speaking openly about the fact that you could say I didn't get myself pulled in. I just kind of gravitated in that direction. And thankfully was able to just stop for a moment and say, you know what? Enough is enough here. It's time to just come back to myself. There's nobody I want to talk to about this stuff. And what's most important, as I already know, as we already know, what's most important is the way we carry ourselves through the world in our day-to-day, wherever we are. So, am I going to shine like a light, or am I going to dim myself down? Am I going to look for elevated states of experience and being, or am I going to be depressed, angry, upset, fearful? Thankfully, these are all choices at this stage, for all of us, for anyone listening at least. And we know that. So what's my point here? Well, if you find yourself drawn to these negative messages, having judgments, etc., just know, like anybody else, it's really up to you to pull yourself out. The key is whether or not, A, you can catch yourself, and I'm sure that you can at this stage, and B, make the conscious decision to, you know what, I'm going to pull back. And maybe, unlike me, not let it take 2 or 3 weeks before that happens. Over that 2 or 3 week period, it happened so slowly, so insidiously that I didn't even see it coming. But finally, when I realized it, well, I was able to turn it back around and pull back and reset and realign and reorient myself. Just like I'm sure you can. And one final point. If you have a daily practice, a meditation, for example, the mantra, for example, other ways of keeping your balance, whether it's listening to music, taking a walk, being out in nature, playing with your children, painting, drawing, then by all means do that. There are so many different ways. Anyway, that's all I have for now. I hope things are going well for you. Thanks for listening.